Well, good morning again, everyone, and welcome to the Council's 2022 Asian American and Pacific Islander Month Commemoration. After 2 years of remotely recognizing this important month, I'm delighted and excited that we can all join in person once again to celebrate Asian American and Pacific Islander Month. Today and throughout this month, we pause to recognize and reflect on the history and achievements of Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders across our county, state, and nation. These communities are some of the most culturally and linguistically diverse groups in America. Here at home in Montgomery County, our community would be incomplete without the voices of Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders who have chosen to live, work, and raise their families here. More than 161,600 residents identify themselves as Asian Americans or Pacific Islanders in our inclusive community. And these residents hail from 37 different countries of origin. We honor the essential roles that these residents play in our county. These community members also lend their rich heritage and expertise to enhance the quality of life in our county. We celebrate and honor the invaluable contributions these communities have made and continue to make to our culture, the arts, business, law, medicine, public service, science, technology, sports, and so much more, including the residents who have served on the front lines of the COVID-19 pandemic, such as our doctors, our healthcare providers, first responders, teachers, and other essential workers. During one of the most difficult 2-year spans in our nation's history, which included times of deep pain and fear because of racially motivated hate crimes, we honor the courage, leadership, and resilience shown by the Asian American and Pacific Islander communities and commit ourselves to promoting racial equity. We want you to know that we continue to stand in solidarity with all of you. To highlight how the arts have helped to heal our community, this year's theme for today's Council commemoration is Advancing Asian American and Pacific Islander Leaders Through Collaboration in the Arts. I want to express my appreciation to all who shared their stories and their art in the video that we will see next. I also want to thank Mershai Salu and Joseph Thompson from the communications team who did a beautiful job producing the video segment. After the video is shown, my colleagues and I will come forward and read, each of us, from a component of the proclamation, and we will hear from distinguished guests that we've invited to speak on behalf of our Asian American and Pacific Islander community this morning. With that, let's fire up the video.
Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders have played vital roles in shaping our nation and county, from serving in public office to medical innovation to shattering barriers and transforming our cultural landscape. During this Asian American and Pacific Islander Month, we celebrate and highlight their achievements. This year's theme is Advancing Leaders Through Collaboration in the Arts, and we'll introduce you to some Asians making a difference in their communities, specifically those propagating their culture through film, dance, music, and other forms of art. And we'll begin with Chinese ethnic musical traditions, where music is considered a highly calming influence. Hailing from a family of musicians, Ru Fu grew up with a burning passion for music and a dream to follow suit.
My mom sings every day for hours. That's her favorite leisure activity. And I think she was a single mom, So during her most difficult times, she would go to karaoke. And because there was no one else to take care of me, she would take me with her. So I just grew up listening to her singing a lot, and she just sang and sang. And I picked things up.
Rui specializes in improvisational interpretations of Chinese ethnic musical traditions and modernist portrayals of ancient meditative music. Through her music, she wants to communicate positive messages about China, unity, and diversity.
I always feel that I hope people can learn a bit more about each other's culture and the context behind what we're saying before we go into negotiations and before we judge each other. And I don't feel that's being done enough in today's world. So I hope that through music, this medium that can more easily appeal to others and open up doors through beauty, that can help us find more opportunities to find common ground and to open up more spaces for opportunities for bridging those differences and coming up with different solutions.
A successful Chinese dulcimer and improviser, Chao Tian's mission has always been to break down barriers and work across creative genres.
If people said music is universal language, I think there must be some accents and dialects in the language system. Just like me, I came to this country with my Chinese musical dialect. And I use this dialect to tell my story, share my culture with people. Every audience heard my music. Every musicians collaborated with me. They have already tasted a little bit about my culture in some ways.
Chao has always been dedicated to preserving the Chinese musical heritage, but performing to a culturally diverse audience in Montgomery County and elsewhere has made her want to create a more universal way to communicate her Chinese musical vocabulary.
I'm trying to reshape my dialect to help people better understand my music language. The main way that I do this reshaping process is through improvising music.
Having lived through the Vietnam War as a child, Mo Dan Nguyen depicts life during those years through her paintings. Putting brush to canvas gave her some sort of comfort to ease the misery of a ravaging war.
I grew up without a father, so it was very, very difficult in a conservative city. So art was my outlet where I went to get comfort, to feel happy.
Her passion for painting certainly helped her overcome the most difficult time of her life, but the agonizing memory still lingers to this day.
Sometimes I cry because of the difficulties I went through in my childhood when I was in Vietnam. It was always running away from the bullets. Many times I nearly got killed because bullets was flying all over. Looking back, sometimes I wish it didn't happen. But then if it didn't happen, my art would be different now. I would be a different person.
And now onto a different form of art, graphic design. Doyle Song never had the intention to join the world of fashion, but his sense of style impressed others. The countless compliments he received prompted his decision to go into retail.
I didn't even want to work retail. I would go into stores and people would try to hire me all the time. It was just like my love of clothes. I just really liked a lot of apparel and footwear a whole lot.
Doyle would eventually create his own clothing brand that spoke to the life he had led. To show that there isn't always a specific formula to success, and each person has the power to build anything.
Enemies Forever is a brand that I created. It's basically, I hate to admit, a name that is probably after my own personality. But Enemies Forever represents being real, letting people know that we don't really have to have what everybody else is doing and we can just be ourselves forever and forever.
Although he was born and raised in the US, Doyle says his Korean heritage plays a huge role in the person he is today and the kind of graphics he designs.
If you look at the brand, we use a lot of the cultural references. If you look at the shirt I'm wearing now, we wrote Enemies Forever in Korean on the shirt. We use a lot of the Asian things that I grew up with to express our art.
Documentary filmmaking has long been used to foster social justice, and that's exactly what award-winning documentary filmmaker Yi Chen is doing.
I think my background as a Chinese immigrant and also my identity as an Asian American really shaped the kind of stories that I want to tell. So I'm interested in telling stories about my own community. I think this film will raise awareness for audience to know who Asian Americans are. I think for me, that interest comes from the desire to tell stories that are underrepresented in media and also reflect the diversity of the community.
Her documentary First Vote looked at how the Asian community was divided by the 2016 election and the importance of voting to increase Asian voter turnout.
After seeing how the 2016 election has divided the Asian American voters, I was interested in finding out why Asian American voters, especially first-time voters, why do they vote the way they do? And it's also for me as a first-time voter to understand more about American democracy, about voting, about civic engagement.
First Vote has won the Special Jury Award for Art and Craft of Documentary Form and has screened in several film festivals, including at AFI Silver Theater.
It really is a dream come true to have my film screen at AFI Silver. Asian Americans are the fastest growing population in the country, and 15% of Montgomery County residents are Asian Americans. So it's really great to have the film screen at AFI Silver in Montgomery County to reach, Asian American viewers.
Have you ever heard of a platform called Twitch? If you haven't, now might be a good time to check it out. Charity Chuan, also known as DJ Accurate, spins on this online platform, joining a growing list of DJs streaming their music live.
I know a lot of people are very familiar with mainstream music, mainstream DJs through the radio and through YouTube and everything like that, but there's definitely a big population of music and a population of artists that are not getting exposed, and I would one day want to have a big enough community, big enough following where I am in a position to kind of share that music and people can, get a feel for what else is out there besides what the radio is putting out there to them.
DJ Accurate primarily spins hip-hop, reggae, and classics, but any chance he gets to play Cambodian music, he takes it.
I was spinning for a fundraiser for the film In the Life of Music. In that fundraiser, I wanted, since it was a Cambodian film, I wanted to incorporate some Cambodian music. So I solicited for some Cambodian artists, things that my mom used to listen to, things that are current now. So I was able to spin some of that at that fundraiser, which was a very interesting experience. As a DJ, one of the biggest things that I enjoy doing is, getting people together, allowing an atmosphere that people can have a good time, listen to good music, share that experience with each other.
Oishi Ghosh learned to dance before she could walk. A second-generation Indian American, she has been immersed in Indian classical dance for close to 13 years.
It started from my mother. She always wanted to do dance when she was very young. And so the first time she took me to a dance performance, my eyes immediately lit up. I was so excited. The movements were so exciting to me. I would see them do these beautiful hand gestures and I would think, wow, if only I could do that.
Oishi, now a high school student at Walt Whitman High School, uses her love for dance to explore her identity as an Indian American and address the misconceptions about her culture.
I think when I was younger, I was really quiet about my heritage because there would be incidents at school where I wouldn't really fit in when I would say, this is what I do at home, or this is what I wear sometimes. I didn't feel like, I was part of my peers. But as I danced more, I really got more comfortable with who I was as an Indian American. I absolutely love spreading my culture to the people I know. Through my dance and through education, through that, I can teach people, that Indian classical dance is not just dance, it's meditation, it's an art form, it's so much more than that. I dance because it brings me joy. Whenever I feel down, I always look forward to dancing with my teachers, my friends, or just practicing by myself.
Oishi is a rising exponent of Odissi, a 1,000-year-old form of Indian classical dance, and Cho, an almost extinct form of Indian folk dance.
What I want to do is really spread Cho all around. I want to show people that, it's present, it's here, and I want to show the beauty of it. When I was growing up, I didn't have a lot of representation. I didn't have people on TV that looked like me. I didn't have people dancing that looked like me as much. So to dance in more diverse areas, not just, going to like an Indian event, is really what I want to aim at, because I want to show the young brown girls there that, there's someone there who does, dance and does everything.
When we think of Indian music, we often expect to hear the contemporary Bollywood sounds. Nishtha Raj, however, offers a different flavor to Indian music with an instrument she met when she was only 9 years old.
I started playing violin in the after-school program when I was in the 5th grade, and it was just sort of something my best friend at the time wanted to do, and she thought it'd be fun for us to do it together. When I started playing the violin, I just instantly connected with it. The idea of having a vehicle to express my feelings and also a place to retreat when the world got too crazy and just enjoy that. It was something that really gave me a lot of solace and a space for me to feel safe.
To immerse herself in Indian music and culture, following her college graduation, Nishtha traveled to India to study the oldest form of Indian classical music, Drupad.
It was also a really beautiful experience for me. It really taught me a lot about myself, life, and just being able to be absorbed in that music that I was so desperate to absorb myself, just being in the root of it all, and the culture and connecting with my own heritage was a very special point in my life.
Nishtha is also known for her skills in blending Western and Eastern music with a mix of beatbox, jazz, and rock, which isn't something we are used to hearing in Indian classical music. Her ability to mix Eastern classical music with modern sounds would serve her well when she joined the Strathmore Artist in Residence program in 2013.
Part of the program is to collaborate with your co-artist in residence, so that was a very great experience because my music, for me, I write and compose music that's rooted in Indian classical, but really I feel most connected to when I'm creating music that brings in different genres and collaboration with other artists. So that experience at Strathmore was sort of another opportunity for me to really explore those intersections and, that part of my music as well.
Through collaboration in the arts, these individuals are leading the way in helping shape the future of their communities.
That was beautiful. I want to acknowledge that Rui Fu, Chao Tian, Doyle Song, Maudan Nguyen, Nishtha Raj, Oshi Ghosh, and DJ Akurit are all in the audience today. Let's give them another round of applause. Next, we will be hearing brief comments from all of my colleagues. First, we will start with Vice President Glass, and then colleagues, we're going to then go to Councilmember Navarro and make our way down the dais this way. So, Council Vice President Glass.
Good morning, everybody. What an inspiring video. A great way to start our day here at the Council, highlighting the beautiful and powerful art that so many in the community continue to create and share with all of us, whether it's meditative, musical, visual, fashion, film, and dance. I just want to applaud all of you for sharing your talents with us. And also for those of you who are joining us today, leaders in government and business and philanthropy, thank you for being an integral part of Montgomery County and being part of the inclusive and beautiful network that we have here. And I'll just say that it is good to be with all of you physically. I think the last time we collectively got together, it was for a different occasion, and it was to recognize that there was hate and racism that had been inflicted upon the AAPI community. And we all came together here in Montgomery County to say no, and to say that we don't tolerate that. And so it is 1 year later, when some of that has waned, today we're able to celebrate the incredible work that each of you and members of the AAPI community do to make Montgomery County a wonderful and beautiful place to live, work, and play. So thank you all for being here, and I look forward to today's celebration.
Thank you, Council Vice President Glass. Next, we will hear from Councilmember Navarro.
Well, good morning, everybody. It is so wonderful to see a lot of familiar faces and some new faces that I got to meet via this extraordinary video. I am just, my heart is full. The reality is that Montgomery County in many ways is like a wonderful experiment. It is a place that is home to folks that speak over 160 languages. And to me, what was really wonderful about this video and the theme is that art specifically is such an amazing vehicle of expression, the expression of tradition, the expression of unity. It is a way to honor our ancestors. It is a way to unify us in a moment in time historically where we know there's been a lot of division, a lot of differences, a lot of pain. And I love the fact that this video really truly included classical forms of art, but also the young generation that is stepping forward to then unite this very important classical foundational pieces of our collective heritage and blending that forward so that it's not lost, but it also represents that bridge. And so for me, it's just wonderful. I was sitting here just reminiscing of, I was a 17-year-old young woman coming to Columbia, Missouri, 1983, to go to college. And at first, I told my parents that I wanted to go to New York or California, and they said, no, you're going to Missouri where we know some folks. And I thought, I'll just transfer later on. But I stayed. And the reason I stayed is because it had such an extraordinary, diverse student body. And I just immersed myself in all these different cultures, and which is why I chose specifically Montgomery County to raise my two daughters, my husband, because I knew that Montgomery County represented that kind of space, that community. And so I want to thank you, because it is a very diverse community, but here you are collectively united to show that we need to continue to have hope. We need to continue to believe in our future. We need to understand that we've gone through some very difficult times that has changed the world, in my opinion, permanently, but that opens opportunities. And that is why this county in particular is just such a wonderful, unique place. So thank you for all your contributions. Thank you for your collaboration. Thank you so much for being part of this amazing place.
Thank you, Councilmember Navarro. Councilmember Friedson.
Well, thank you so much. Good morning. I am so excited to be here, so proud to be a Montgomery County resident, to live in a place that has such an incredible and accomplished and giving AAPI community, the largest AAPI community anywhere in the state of Maryland. And I'm proud, we're all proud of that fact. And watching the video, we see from arts and culture, food and music and dance. We think of education. We think of business and technology. We think of politics. We have three trailblazing elected officials here with us today, Chairman Barvey, Senator Lee, and Delegate Chi, all of whom have made history in their own rights. And we think of all of the nonprofit leaders, all of the business leaders, all of those who have given back so richly and so incredibly to make Montgomery County the wonderful place that it is. And thinking back on the pandemic, and there have been some really challenging times, the story of the AAPI community through this pandemic in many ways has been the story of the AAPI community throughout the history of our country, facing some of the worst forms of discrimination, some of the greatest challenges facing any community, facing any individual groups, and how our AAPI community rose above it. When we think of the anti-Asian hate and some of the really ugly situations, then you think about the way that our AAPI community was one of the first groups, one of the first communities to come together and to help us get PPE, to fight this pandemic together as a community that stood together and set up testing sites and set up food distribution sites and set up places for our residents to get social safety net services that otherwise they wouldn't have been able to access. How our AAPI community and we worked together to make sure that we expanded security grants to provide cultural organizations with this type of protection that was needed at a time where we were facing really ugly and unacceptable forms of hatred and of bigotry. So I'm just so proud to celebrate with you all of the accomplishments and particularly to come out of these past 2 years, a year of great challenge, but a year that demonstrates the way that our AAPI community has led the way in many ways for our broader community to rise above those challenges. So thank you so much. Thank you for everything that you do, and I am so excited to be part of this wonderful celebration here together.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Friedson. Now, Councilmember Hucker.
Thank you, Council President. Great to see so many longtime friends here. I always learn so much from these videos, so thanks so much to Mirchai on our team for putting that amazing one together to highlight so many residents that I think otherwise we wouldn't have known about. My experience at many of these events, and all of us have been to a lot of AAPI heritage events, right? People always refer to the great diversity of the AAPI community. So many nationalities, national origins, so many languages. And that can be an advocacy challenge. I remember working with Senator Lee to get the O'Malley administration to declare Lunar New Year a holiday as a way to bring communities together to push for AAPI issues in the State House, because that was one holiday everybody agreed on. I'm just struck sitting here looking at so many longtime friends at the diversity, by the diversity of your contributions. I mean, we have leaders of our business community here, leaders of our economic development community, and our higher education community, our education and higher education community, with state lawmakers who have been incredible advocates for gun safety recently, and human trafficking prevention, and the environment, and climate protection, and small business development, and as well. It's extraordinary the collective contributions that you all are making every single day to our county and to our state. And I love celebrations like this because we get to talk about those, and we don't get to talk about them enough. So thanks for everything you're doing. And I really hope we have a lot of residents paying attention today, because you all really deserve a lot of credit for the extraordinary contributions you're making, and so many unsung heroes like we saw, the ones we saw in the video, are making every single day to our county. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Councilmember Hucker. Councilmember Reamer.
Thank you. Well, indeed, it's an honor to be with you today, and wonderful to see Senator Barvey, Delegate. Delegate
Barvey.
Sorry, Chairman Barvey.
Cheryl just fainted.
Senator Lee, Delegate Chi. It's great to be with you. It's great to be with you. Apologies. First words I've muttered in a few minutes here. It was exciting to see the cultural creators, the ways that traditions are being expressed and developed, and new interpretations and new blends. I thought that was really intriguing, and of course we see it in the community around us today. But I've learned about some new exciting artists and some entrepreneurs, and I want to get a photo with with your company, the enemies, memories forever. Show it to my son. He's going to be pretty excited to see and learn about your company. I want to thank each of you and collectively for your impact. Your communities are high impact communities in this county, and you're powering our successes in life sciences and technology and entrepreneurship and government, and agencies like NIH are powered by your contributions. And as has been mentioned, our success in a community response during this terrible pandemic, but also a governmental response during this pandemic, has been so much through your efforts. We are really grateful. The care that you provide for our seniors and the work that you do to at the grassroots level, your nonprofits, your small businesses, you are at the forefront of what is good and the progress in Montgomery County. And we're just pleased to be able to honor you and delighted for this tradition, because there's never been a more important time for us to have strong bonds. And I think we've seen through these difficult times that having pre-existing partnerships and pre-existing relationships, so that in a moment of crisis you can quickly provide resources and expand and deepen the work that needs to be done, is so important. So thank you for being with us, and we're really look forward to deepening and building on our relationships going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Reamer. Councilmember Jawando.
Thank you, and good morning, everybody. You can say good morning back. Yeah. Really good to see you. This is such an awesome event, and I think agree with all my colleagues. You know, the best part about Montgomery County is who we are, and when we come together, there's so many stories about how we all got here, and I think it's always important to remember we all got here somehow, whether we were brought here, whether we immigrated here, whether we fled violence, whether it was our grandparents or us or our parents or our great-grandparents, we all got here somehow. And in Montgomery County, we have really been about the work, not perfectly, but how do you come together as a very diverse community where everyone can achieve their potential and contribute to our society? And I think there are not many places in the United States, and I've been to many, studied many more, that have what we have here. I see my good friend, and it's always dangerous mentioning people in the audience, but I'm gonna single out Senator Susan Lee because she has been a trailblazer along with so many others here. But we often talk about when we were having the horrible discrimination, the Asian hate, we were having so many forms of hate at once, right? As a reaction to this big lie that we can't all come together and do well. That is the big lie. We can, and we should, and we have at our best. But she talked about particularly the kinship between the African American and the Asian community, and we built this country, right? We built the country, literally laid the foundation of buildings and railroads, and indeed May was chosen in 1992, long overdue, by Congress as Asian American Pacific Islander Month, because that was the anniversary of the ending of the Transcontinental Railroad, right? And because that was the month that the first Japanese Americans in 1843 immigrated to the United States. I had the great privilege and honor, and I want to highlight them, to visit one of the Japanese library collection with Mr. Takamori and folks. And if they're here, I'd like to ask you to stand, give them a little, I see you there, okay, thank you. They have collected over the years over 15,000 Japanese language books that when I went to visit, there were kids, adults, you had every range coming in there sharing their culture. And Maya Angelou said this, many other people have said it, you can't know where you're going if you don't know where you've come from. And I think this commemoration by the team was just so awesome. And I just want to say happy AAPI Heritage Month, and I'm proud to live in a county where we value the importance and contributions of everybody. So God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Jawando. Councilmember Katz.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and good morning, everyone. When you're the eighth speaker, I guess, of this crowd. Most of what could be said has been said, but you know, these events are just so wonderful, and the video and everything else. But Asian American and Pacific Islanders Heritage Month is a time to recognize that the many contributions that the AAPI community has made to our history and to our culture. And that's both worldwide and locally, and as we saw in the video. We celebrate in May, I did a little research myself, we celebrate in May because it commemorates the immigration of the first Japanese people to the United States on May 7th, 1843. And as many of you have heard me say, and I know my colleagues have heard me say probably more times than they would like me to, I sincerely believe a community is a family. And I'm so very proud that all of our family members, or many of our family members, are here today. And it is dangerous to look around the room and call out people, but I really believe that it's necessary to mention that I see former Board of Education member Dr. Alan Chung, who was the first person in the AAPI community to be elected in Montgomery County. Could we please have Dr. Chung stand? Dr. Chung has taken on a role that, for me, both of being a mentor and a friend, and for many years, and I sincerely appreciate it. He's already been mentioned, but my District 17 delegate, Kumar Barvey, is here, along with Senator Susan Lee and Delegate Lily Chi. I sincerely enjoy teasing Kumar, and I take every opportunity to do that. And I'm also very pleased to see a person who I've just recently gotten to know, and that's Julie Yang. And I appreciate everything that she is doing for our community. And one other person I did want to mention is Yi Shen, who worked at my office and is now the Asian liaison for the Office of Community Partnerships. And Yi, if you would like to stand, I know the community knows you. And oh, by the way, not to ruin the theme, but I enjoy teasing him as well. So, but thank you, everyone, for everything that you do for our community. It is truly you have helped make all of us a better community for all of us, and we sincerely thank you for your numerous contributions each and every day. Thank you. With that, I turn back to you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Katz. Next, we will hear from Councilmember Rice. After Councilmember Rice finishes his remarks, we will all come forward and invite all of our guests to come forward, and then we will hear from some leaders in our AAPI community. Councilmember Rice.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President, and greetings to everybody that's there. I wish I could be with you in person. Unfortunately, I'm at a conference in Houston, Texas, but this was very important to me, and I wanted to be a part of this. And I see so many of my friends, whether it's Chairman Barvey, Delegate Chi, Shruti Bhatnagar, Devang Shah, so many folks who are leaders in our community. And it ties into the theme for this year, which is advancing leaders through collaboration. Each and every one of you, and you've heard the stories from all of my colleagues on the dais, have collaborated with all of us to ensure that we're advancing the interests of our community. And our community includes our AAPI. And we need to make sure that that's at the forefront. Folks who prioritize in understanding that the only way in which we can make ourselves the family that Councilmember Katz talked about is by making sure that leaders bring forth the issues that are so important. So when I think about our Asian American Health Initiative that continues to ensure that we're highlighting stigmatized things like mental health and continue to bring them to the forefront. When it comes to making sure that educational opportunities are there in our schools so that everyone can succeed and continue to be successful and compete at the highest levels. All of those things are incredibly important to the fabric of what it is that we call Montgomery County. And that is why our AAPI community is so important, because we all contribute to making sure that we have this incredible tapestry that is, the Montgomery County family that we know. And so I just want to close by saying thank you. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your vision. Thank you for continuing to fight for those who are marginalized and oftentimes forgotten. There are so many assumptions that are made about our AAPI community, and you continue to dispel those myths each and every day. That's incredibly important. Understanding the diversity of the culture, understanding that people struggle in all of our facets of our communities. And we need to continue to provide support and lift folks up when they need a helping hand. And also when it comes to economic development and making sure that whether it's small businesses and entrepreneurs and supporting them and giving them the opportunities to be successful, which also means hiring folks in our community. And last but not least, our kids, making sure that our kids have a place that they can go to school and not be discriminated against, to make sure that they can focus on learning. Those are all things that each and every one of you work on each and every day. It is what makes Montgomery County one of the best places to live, work, and play. And so I just want to say thank you for all of your great work. Back to you, Mr. President.
Thank you so much. Before we all collect, I want to acknowledge that Ashima Talwar is here from Senator Van Hollen's office. Thank you so much. Now, colleagues and guests, please come forward in front of the dais, and we will hear some remarks from respected leaders.
Alan, come on up.
All right, we're going to need a wide angle here. So we will next hear from first Senator Susan Lee, then State Delegate Lily Chi, then State Delegate Kumar Barvey, and then Devang Shaw. It now gives me great pleasure to introduce Senator Lee, and as was noted earlier by colleagues, she is a trailblazer in every way imaginable. And I have a special connection to Senator Lee because my parents live in her district. They are thrilled to be represented by somebody who speaks their values and understands their complex and unique background as immigrants. And so I can't thank Senator Lee. And she has, by the way, taken a lot of time to mentor many of us, including myself, in so many different ways. So Senator Lee, please, it's an honor to have you say some comments.
Thank you, President Albornoz, and thank you for your extraordinary leadership in the helm of the council, and Vice Chair Glass, too, and all the wonderful council members who represent us every day on very difficult, complex issues. We're very proud of you, and we are here to help and partner with you from the state. I'd like to thank everyone for coming, and also the council doing this AAPI Heritage Month celebration. It's very special to all of us, but we especially thank you for honoring all the artists. They've always been not recognized. It's more in the science and technology. As you know, Asian Americans, the parents always tell you to become doctors or engineers, right? So I'm so glad you're finally recognizing the artists. My own mother is an artist, and she worked in the art department at the Washington Post for 1,000 years. She enjoyed it. So thank you for honoring artists. They've contributed enormously to our real wonderful cultural diversity. But I'd like to say thank you for this celebration because, the history of America is incomplete without telling the history of all our people of all different backgrounds, which has not always been the case in our country. Very often, communities of color and other underrepresented communities have been marginalized, and a month like this just highlights our significant contributions because, as Council Member Joanna said, very often we're never recognized, but our different communities of color have built America, from building the railroads to innovations in science and technology, medical treatments, the arts, right? Sports, and all sorts of things from, launching I would say, information technology revolution. And also in in politics too, with my wonderful colleagues here, like Delegate Kumar Barvey, who was the first Asian American and South Asian to be elected to the Maryland General Assembly, and then our other colleagues too. Now we're strong. We actually have an Asian American Pacific Islander Legislative Caucus. Yeah. And I was honored to serve as its first chair. Now we have Clarence Lamb, Senator Lamb, who's now the chair of that wonderful entity. And we have collaborated as a caucus with the Black Caucus, the Latino Caucus, and the Women's Caucus, because together, moving forward, we're able to deliver more to our communities. But as I said, we've made significant contributions ever since we landed on the soil of this wonderful country. And, we've served in the United States military in many wars, dating back to the Civil War. My own father was a United States Navy World War II veteran who served on the Atlantic and Pacific. He was part of what they call the Greatest Generation. And I had uncles in the Vietnam War. And we've also had many other, we've heard of Nathan Chin. Have you all heard of Nathan Chin? He's a gold medalist. I think I'm getting it right. And then there's, I don't want to talk forever because there's so many achievements that have been made by our community, but the contributions have been marginalized. And then our community faced a horrible anti-Asian rhetoric that was fueled by the past president and the profiling of innocent scientists of Chinese descent that's hurt scientists. But we've all, overcome that. And as the council members have mentioned, we were the first community to offer PPEs and give it to the community and our frontline workers. And so I'm not going to go on because I know the colleagues have to speak too. But I'm so proud to be with you all today, to be part of this rich tapestry of America. And together, let's work together so we could fulfill the promise of America. And thank you so much for honoring us.
Next, I'm proud to introduce Delegate Lily Chi, who I had the honor of serving in the cabinet with of previous County Executive Ike Leggett. Delegate Chi.
Good morning and a happy Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. Thank you so much for taking the time on a Tuesday morning to join all of us. And I want to give a big shout out to Council President, my friend and former colleague in Montgomery County Government, Council President Gabe Albernas and Vice President Evan Glass and all of the council members for taking the time to honor our cultural heritage and honor who we are as an integral part of Montgomery County. Last night, as I was watching late night, as I was watching the news unfold of this leaked document from the Supreme Court that threatened to take a fundamental right of American women away from modern American women in the 21st century, I was pinching myself thinking how lucky we are to be part of Maryland. And today I feel how lucky we are to be part of Montgomery County, because after the last 2 years, we just cannot take a welcoming community for granted anymore. And so thank all of you for making this part of a wonderful community. And I especially love the fact that you've highlighted the arts as theme. As Senator Lee said, that we are creative people too, with personalities, right? We are full-dimensional human beings just like anyone else, So thank you. And as someone who's married to a musician who grew up in a family where we sing along to our mom's organ tune because she was a lifelong elementary school music teacher in Shanghai, I love it. That's wonderful. But and especially when you see the music, the traditional music and the modern music and traditional, Chinese or Indian or whatever music is blended with modern American jazz, whatever. That is how cultures are made, right? Montgomery County is a metaphor of that, is a manifestation of that. But I have to say personally, the ultimate epitome of integration is political involvement. Please vote, because when we vote, our voices matter. And because you have representations here, this year for the first time, the State Board of Election will have multilingual voter registration forms on its website in PDF forms, complete with instruction. It's because you have Asian representations in Maryland State Legislature. And because you have Asian representations, and Delegate Barvey will speak to that too, this year for the first time, we require MCPS to separate the student performance tracking. So Asian Americans are no longer lumped with whites and all others. because representation matters. So please vote, including and especially in the primary election. So thank you, and happy Asian American Heritage Month.
Thank you. Next, we will hear from State Delegate Kumar Barvey. As you heard earlier, he has been himself a trailblazer in so many ways, and we're fortunate to have him representing us in the General Assembly. Delegate Barvey.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and to the Council. There are so many accomplishments of our community, whether it's building the railway. My grandfather came here to be a research scientist for General Electric, to be one of the many people who developed TV technology. So if your kids are doing poorly in school, it's because of the part of the contribution of my grandfather, so they could slack off and watch a little screen. Seriously, though, you'll see an incredible diversity here, not only in our life backgrounds and what we do for a living, and artistic backgrounds, and what could possibly unite us. So I will tell you that my father, my late father, used to complain that the only thing that truly united the Asian American community was our insane devotion to lunar calendars. And oh, you can laugh. Come on, we have a sense of humor. But really, I think what really unites this group of people, whether we're elected office holders or artists or aspiring business people or whatever, is the belief that we have in ourselves in this community. I'd like to call up Alan Chung. Alan, why don't you come up here for a second and join me? Back in 1990, he and I were the first Asian Americans to run for and win elective office in Montgomery County. And if you remember, there were a lot of people who questioned whether a guy like you or a guy like me could possibly even win an election. Do you remember that?
Well, at the time, majority of the population is not diverse.
Yeah, but we had faith in ourselves, and we had faith in our place in Montgomery County, Maryland, and in Maryland, and it allowed us, we became trailblazers to a great extent because we believed in ourselves, and also to a great extent because this is a community that allows us to believe in ourselves. And so, I was the first Indian American, the first Hindu to be elected to any state legislature in American history. He was the first Asian American to be elected countywide in Montgomery County. Actually, weren't you the first countywide elected office holder in Maryland history?
Chinese American.
Okay, that's right. And so I want to thank you all for coming together and giving us this opportunity to celebrate the fact that we do believe in ourselves, but it's important to remember that it's easy to believe in yourself if you live in Montgomery County. Thank you so much.
And also, Kumar, we Asian Pacific American have more than one culture.
That's right.
And that's the reason that we try to apply the best of our cultures. And we believe not what people say, what people do.
That's right. That's right.
In America, we have many, many good talkers, very, very few doers. And you have to watch what they do and what the results are. And also, we believe in education, in characters, in respect of elders and family. If you want to look at the politicians, see how they respect their elders, then you know how great their leader will be.
That's right.
Thank you.
Well, speaking of doers, our final guest speaker this morning is Devang Shah. Devang has served as the chair of the board of Interfaith Works, but has also been involved in so many different community-based organizations across our community. He's a tremendous leader, and we're proud to have him here this morning.
Thank you so much for everyone. Is this on? Yeah. Thank you for everyone so much for coming, and thank you, President Albanese, Vice President Glass. I saw a statistic up there that said there are 156,000 Asian Americans in Montgomery County, and that just doesn't happen by accident. It's because we have a county council, we have a state delegation that is truly inclusive and welcoming, and that's why we get increasing number of Asian Americans that want to come to our county, and it wasn't always that way. I'm a lifelong resident of Montgomery County, and many people tell me I didn't get very far in life. My kids went to the same middle school, elementary school, and high school as I did. And I remember my first day at elementary school, oldest child of an immigrant mother and father, and I went to school with Indian food. And there was this green chutney there, if you guys know what chutney is, And all the kids said, "Oh my God, he's eating grass." And first grade, I was known as the boy that ate grass. Not a very inclusive environment that I grew up in here. And it was a little difficult, right? Fast forward about 35 years, and my 3 daughters, I come home, and I see them in the family room with their friends, and there's a Latina friend, and an African American, and another Asian American, and a Jewish, and a white, and they're all playing dress up with Indian clothes and dancing to Bollywood music and eating snack food my wife made, tandoori chicken. And it brings tears to my eyes because Montgomery County had become that family community that that the council member had talked about, Sydney. And so it's so wonderful to have such great elected representatives and community leaders that have made this community truly inclusive, where we can all enjoy each other's cultures, art, etc., and make it a much nicer place to live in. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Javan. Next, we will see a brief, 2-minute video from U.S. Trade Representative Ambassador Catherine Tai, and then my colleagues and I will formally read the proclamation together. Cue up the video, please.
Hello, everyone. First, let me extend my gratitude to the Montgomery County Council for inviting me to join today's event and celebration. I am a daughter of Montgomery County, and I am delighted to be with you today as I serve in President Biden's cabinet and as co-chair of the White House Initiative and the President's Advisory Commission on Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders. This year's theme for the Montgomery County Council's 2022 AAPI Month proclamation is Advancing Leaders Through Collaboration in the Arts. It is a perfect theme to celebrate the outstanding achievements and contributions of Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders, whose creativity entertains, challenges, and inspires all of us. By honoring AA-NHPI representation in the arts, you are highlighting role models for younger generations to follow. Beyond that, the proclamation is a reminder about how our community needs to remain engaged at the local, statewide, and national level. I think about the fact that I am the first Asian American confirmed to serve as United States Trade Representative. While it's not easy being the first, I hope that I can inspire and guide the next generation of female Asian Americans towards public service. As Vice President Kamala Harris, who is also Asian American, says, and I'll paraphrase, "I may be the first, but I won't be the last." The Council's proclamation makes clear that members of the AA-NHPI community are seen and respected in Montgomery County. It is a demonstration of inclusivity that I hope is replicated in communities across the United States. To the Montgomery County Council, thank you for your leadership on this important issue. And once again, thank you for inviting me to be a part of today's event.
That was perfect. Next, I will invite my colleagues and I to read the proclamation together. I will start. So, Proclamation of Montgomery County, Maryland. Whereas Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month is recognized nationally throughout the month of May to honor the irreplaceable roles that these communities have played in our past and to celebrate the contributions made by generations of Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders to American history, society, and culture. And whereas
Whereas Montgomery County residents of Asian and Pacific Islander heritage come from all parts of Asia and the Pacific Islands of Melanesia, Micronesia, and Polynesia. And
whereas more than 161,600 county residents identify themselves as Asian American and Pacific Islanders, which represents more than 15% of our population, and they hail from 37 different countries of origin around the world. And
whereas as one of the most culturally and linguistically diverse groups in America, the Asian American and Pacific Islander communities remind us that while we all have distinct backgrounds and origins, we share the same hopes and aspirations for ourselves and our community. And
Whereas, in commemorating this month, we recognize the rich heritage of our Asian American and Pacific Islander communities who creatively express their unique identities through the creative arts to provide more representation for future generations. And
whereas this year's Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month theme is advancing leaders through collaboration in the arts, in film, dance, music, and other forms of art, and
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Do you want to hold the sacred book? The sacred book is so important. Whereas Asian American and Pacific Islander artists are using their voice to make a difference in their communities by expressing their culture and heritage through film, dance, music, and other forms of art. And
whereas Asian American and Pacific Islander trailblazers are succeeding each day to help shape the county's future and add their voices and experiences to make our community a better place to live, work, and raise a family. And
together, we recommit ourselves to embrace the diversity that enriches our county and to ensure that all people have an equal opportunity to succeed.
Now, therefore, it be resolved that the County Council of Montgomery County, Maryland, hereby recognizes May as Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, presented on this third day of May in the year 2022. Let's give everybody a round of applause. And we're now going to take a couple of group pictures.